Any questions? If you do have one, you can proceed to ask. If not, I will proceed to start or to continue. Okay, we'll get into it. So, folks, we started yesterday with Automation Studio. And as I mentioned, this is an application inside of the Marketing Cloud platform that allows you to automate things, solve different problems. And I showed you a few things yesterday, and I'll continue to show you other things, and we'll do a demonstration today. But as I pointed out a few times yesterday, there are several activities inside of Automation Studio that you're hardly going to use. The ones you're going to end up using most of the time are these ones. So these are the email send, the file import, the file transfer, the data extract, SQL queries, filters, and scripts. Those are the top activities inside of Automation Studio that get used the most. Some of the other ones, they're there, but yeah, there's not a lot of use for them. They're not useless, but they're not as oftenly used as these ones. So now, quick question. As of today, is there anyone who doesn't or has been unable to access Marketing Cloud, this Marketing Cloud account? Is there anyone who doesn't have their own login details? I want to believe everybody by now is able to log in with no issues, access the different applications with no issues. Can you please let us know or put it in the chat or raise your hand if you don't have access by now? I don't expect to get any responses to that, but just in case, that I'd ask. So if we go back to, so I did a bit of cleanup here. I put all the subfolders into one of these. Okay, Udrak has a question. So Udrak is starting us off. Yes, go ahead.
Just before we get into anything serious, I was looking at a few trails, and I find that with marketing trailheads is a lot of reading, and I'm wondering if I did anything on the trail on the Marketing Cloud, does it affect anybody else? Because I just didn't. I didn't know how far. Like, I didn't know if it was like the regular CRM trails that we have.
If you did anything where?
So when you like on the trails that you know how they give you go here, click this, do that. I don't know if I did it on the Marketing Cloud. Does it affect any settings? Does it affect anything that is configured there? Or
so while you were following along in this trail, you were logged into this account?
I was, but I didn't do anything because I didn't know if it would affect any setup.
But what were some of the things you were asked to do in this trail?
It's mostly the email things, mostly the list of trails you sent us, those email, the first section.
Okay. Yeah. So it's fine to follow along with the trail. As long as, so when it comes to anything, not just emails, just make sure you've got your own folder and you're building your own email messages inside your own folder, and you're not knocking around on someone else's emails or images. That's why we've requested you all have your own folders.
Okay, so, I'm just making sure.
Yeah, as long as you're not going to the setup section and changing stuff.
No.
That's okay. Yeah, that's the essence of giving you access so that you can go in and build stuff and make mistakes in the process as you're building emails, because the learning happens when you make a mistake and you figure out what you did wrong and then you correct it and you move on. That's where the learning happens. All of this slides and me rambling for 2 hours, that's a nice to have. Most of your learning will happen as you go around inside of the account and get stuff done. And I keep saying this, it's like learning how to drive and just reading a book, reading slides about driving. Sure, you're going to pick up one or two things, but until you get behind the wheel and drive that car, you won't really know how to drive. So that's why I asked again to make sure everyone has access to the account by now. So if you don't, you're doing yourself a disservice. So anyways, hopefully that covered your question. Yes, Risikat, please go ahead.
I think mine is a follow-up to Udrak's question. I assume we shouldn't be doing any connections like the integration. That first trailhead that we dealt with.
The Marketing Cloud integration.
Yeah, the connection with CRM.
That at this point, it's a bit too early for you, but that's me making an assumption. I don't know how experienced you are or if you already have Marketing Cloud where you work, but that's not one of the first things you should be doing. All right? That's something later on.
Okay.
It's not, and even on the job, so depending on if you want to go down the consulting route or you want to work at a company on the client side, a company that already has Marketing Cloud. On the job, the exercise of doing the integration, it's not something you're going to be doing very often. All right?
Yeah.
Time on.
Okay.
Yeah, what most people do more often inside of Marketing Cloud, either on the client side or the consultant side, is building emails, building automations, building journeys, doing setting up data extensions and setting up automations to refresh them, that sort of thing. Not Marketing Cloud Connect. That integration, you might, if you're on the consultant side, let's say you work for a very busy company, you might end up doing maybe 6 to 7 integrations a year. So it's not something you're going to be doing often. So don't spend too much time on the Marketing Cloud integration with a sandbox or production log. All right. Keep the questions coming. So back to Automation Studio. Just want to emphasize, I did some rearrangement here. If you can't find your folder in cohort 6, it's probably mistakenly put into cohort 5. I don't know who's who, but I think I got most of them right. And then if we go take a look at my automations from yesterday, just to continue where we stopped. So I was saying most of the activities you're going to use are these ones. The email send, import file, file transfer, these guys. Those are the ones you're going to spend more time using. So that's why I focused on them in the slides. All right. So one exercise we're going to do today, before we get into that exercise, I think I didn't explain what these last 2 activities are. So let's talk about them. And then we'll get into a demonstration. So the verification step or verification activity. This is an activity that you might find helpful if you need to check on something before another action happens. So let's say, for example, let's say I wanted to do an import So I import a file every night, and then I have a query that's finding people who meet a specific criteria. Let's say everyone who joined within the last 24 hours. That's what my query is looking for. Once the query finds them, I want an email to be sent to those people. So if I turn this automation on, let's say I had all these activities configured. What will happen is at every hour at that time, a file will get imported, an SQL query will run, and then an email will get sent to all the eligible people. But if I wanted to make sure, if I wanted an extra step to verify that these people meet a specific requirement, or to verify that this file actually came true, I can use this activity here in between. So I can configure this such that I'm having this activity check a data extension to see if there's data in there. And if there is, then I want the automation to move on to step 3. But if there's no data, I want the automation to stop at step 2. This verification activity is what enables that sort of check before moving on to a next step. So here's an example. I'll give you a scenario that I've seen used with my clients. So I have a client, financial services client. We built an automation for them. So every so often, we have a file import process. It grabs a file from the FTP, imports them into a data extension. And then we had a verification step to make sure that the import was successful, and to also make sure that there were a minimum number of records imported. So if the verification step goes through, and let's say the minimum number was 100, the verification step checks to see, okay, are there 100 records in the data extension? If the answer is yes, then the automation will proceed to step 3. But if the answer was no, let's say there were only 5 records in there instead of 100, the verification step will pause the automation because that requirement was not met, and the next step will not go through. So it's a nice to have activity or feature, but sometimes doesn't get used. So it's just a nice to have feature or activity. And then let's talk about this last activity here. Let's get rid of that and get rid of this. So let's say I had an automation that was this long. So let's say I wanted 2 emails sent. Yes, so file gets imported, query runs, and then I want email number 1 sent. But I also want a second email sent. But I want to put a buffer between these 2 emails. This next activity here, the wait activity, is what can help me do that. So I can configure this wait. Let's say I want a wait period of 1 day in between these 2 emails. So I want this email to go on day 1. Yeah. And I want to give people a bit of a breathing room before they get my email number 2. So I can configure this wait period for as little as 1 minute or as much as 1 year. And I can specify what time. Let's just say, let's change that to duration. Let's say, I say wait for 1 day. So what will happen is, from left to right, the file import will go through, my query will run, this email in step 3.1 will get sent. And then when the automation gets to step 4, it's going to wait for 1 full day before proceeding to step 5 to send the next email. So this activity here allows you to put a waiting period in between your automation sequence. All right. So just like every other activity, you have to configure it and specify how long you want that duration to be. Okay, so those are the only 2 activities I didn't cover yesterday. So now I'm going to do a demonstration of a file drop automation. So yesterday I demonstrated to you how to set up a scheduled automation. So you just set the time, just like we did here. We said every 1 hour we want it to run, and we want it to start at this time. And the automation did run, and we got the result, which was a filter data extension that got refreshed. Right, so where's our filter data extension? It was this one. So actually it was a query. So we ran a query, and this data extension got refreshed with these 2,000 records. Today we're going to use a different starting source. So instead of the schedule starting source, we're going to use the file drop. Okay, and this is what we're going to use. But there are a few things we need to put in place in order to use the file drop. And as I mentioned yesterday, the file drop gives you the ability to pull in files, so say a CSV file or a zip file from the FTP into Marketing Cloud, into an automation. So first of all, we have to access the FTP. So to access the FTP, we need an FTP client, such as FileZilla, which is a free tool. So I downloaded FileZilla. So as you see here, I'm using a Windows. So when you're downloading FileZilla, you can download it for whatever platform, whatever OS you use. There's one for Mac, there's one for Windows. So I've downloaded FileZilla, and this here is what it looks like. All right, this is FileZilla. So this is the third-party tool that you can use to access the FTP site for Marketing Cloud. So I'm going to show you how you access the FTP site. First of all, I need to see if I have an FTP, if I have my FTP login information. Okay, so there is one account here set up for me, so it's this one. If there was none, I'll just need to create a new user, give myself a username, myself a password, and then I'll be able to access it. And as you see here, there's a limit of 10 FTP accounts that can be used. All right, so let's see, do I have the password for this? Let's see. No, it's this. So 237. Okay, I might have to do a password reset for myself here. All right, I'm going to choose to change passwords. Let's give myself a password. Not save. Okay. So what is my username? My username is this number right here. Well, my password, that's fine. So to use FileZilla, you have to put this URL here. So you can copy this URL and you place it in here in the host section right there. And then you enter your username. So my username is this string of numbers. And then my password, let's see if I remember it. And the port is always 22. So you see here, it's always 22 for every account. It's not specific to this manifest account, but the value for the port section is always 22. I don't know why. It's always 22. I always see 22 on every account I've logged into. So now, let's see if it will let me log in. So we go quick connect. And then, yes, I wanted to remember my password. So I'll say save. So you see here. Sure. Always trust, yes. Okay. So you see these messages here. This simply means I am able to access this Marketing Cloud FTP account. If I wasn't able to access it, I'll get a access denied or error message somewhere here. But see, I was able to connect to that URL, which is the URL for this Marketing Cloud account, using that URL, my username and my password, and now I'm in. That's why these folders here are getting displayed. All right? Okay. Okay, that's fine. Thank you, sir. So, so I'm logged into this Marketing Cloud FTP account. All right, so that's step one. Log in using a third-party tool such as FileZilla. So that's a good sign. And then this, so you see where it says remote site, this is the FTP account for that Marketing Cloud account. And there are these three folders. And underneath these three folders, there might be subfolders. So for example, the export has a few subfolders. The import also has a few subfolders. But the gist of it is, whenever you want to import records or import files from, so I'll go back to my RBC example. So let's say RBC wanted to import files from their internal systems to Marketing Cloud, and they wanted to do it using a file drop automation. Yes, using the file drop as a starting source. What we'll need from them is from the RBC side, we'll need them to drop that file in one of these folders under the import main folder. All right, so we can create a folder here underneath this import main folder, and we'll tell RBC, okay, make sure you drop that CSV file into one of these files or one of these folders. So when they drop it into that folder, then we'll configure this file drop to be listening for the arrival of that CSV file in a specific folder. So you know what? Let's go ahead and just create a new subfolder. So we'll call this new folder October 2023. About that. That's what we'll call it. Okay, so see, I've created that folder underneath the import folder. right? So that's another thing we need to do before we set up our automation. So just to walk you through the steps again. Step one is get your third-party tool to access the FTP. So get FileZilla, get your login details. If you don't have login details, create an account for yourself, create a user for yourself to access the FTP. You can create a new user here, put the login details into your FileZilla, and then once you're logged in, you can create a subfolder under the import main folder. So as the name implies, the import is where you should put files that are coming in to Marketing Cloud, and the export is where the system will put files that you are extracting out of Marketing Cloud. So if we build an automation to extract tracking data or data from a data extension, and we want to extract it out of Marketing Cloud, this is where we should create our subfolder for those extracts. All right. So back to our import folder, I've created my subfolder called October 2023. The next thing I need to do, since I've created this folder, is I need to come here under the setup section. I need to go to file locations. All right. And I need to create a new file location because I just created a new folder under this section. I need to create a corresponding file location here. So for each of these, so for example, this one that says OSI export, there's a corresponding folder for it here. So that's the one. For the one that says March 8th, there's a corresponding folder for it here. See, March 8th. It's this one that says AE. That's the AE one. So you get the gist. You have to create a file location for each folder you want to use. Okay, so our next step is to create our file location. And for simplicity's sake, you should use the same naming convention. So here we call it October 2023. That's what we should use here. So for example, this one we said was March 8th, and that's what we used. So let's create our new October 2023 file location. We'll just call it same name. You could put a description. So okay, and then the location type that we need to select is relative location on the FTP site. Okay, and once you make that selection, this field pops up. And in this field, you have to enter the actual location, which is import/October 2023, which is what we have here. So you see, you've got your \import October 2023, \import/October 2023. If you don't remember this, it's fine. You can always just come find, what's this about? Please make sure to create relatives folder in the enhanced FTP. Yeah, we already did that. All right, I'll come back to this. If you don't remember what the address is, you can always come to one of these existing ones just to take a look. So for example, if we go into this one called OSI, see, and it's export/OSI. If we take a look at the one for March 8th, it's import/March_8. So let's go ahead and try that again. Maybe I put the / wrong. Okay, so yes, October 20. Yes, and relative. So I see what I've done wrong. So it's supposed to be, the backslash is not supposed to be in that direction. It's supposed to be in this direction. So, see? And here at the bottom, it tells you you don't need the first backslash. So you just need import / October 2023. Let's see if it gives me the error message again. Okay, so it likes that. So that's the new file location that I've created. Okay, so that's this one. Okay, so now that we've put in our prerequisites, which is we've got our folder and we've created a corresponding file location in setup, we can now come back here to our automation to configure what we want. All right, so we can start with the configuration process now that we've configured our. So if you collapse this import folder, so this import folder that you see is not muted. Yeah, thank you. So this import folder that you see here from inside of this file drop setup is the same one. Okay, so when we collapse it, we should be able to see all these subfolders, including the new one that I just created. So see that? We see all those subfolders, including the one called October 2023. All right, so that's a good sign. If we did not go through creating this first and then setting up the relative location here, we won't be able to see that October 2023 folder. Okay, so to configure this, we can now select this location. Okay, so that's that. And we can say, now you have the option. Now, before we proceed, let's see. Why are some of the locations grayed out or locked? Okay, let's take a look. So let's see, what's the message it's telling us here? This directory is locked. So these are locked or grayed out because they're already tied to existing automations. Okay, so you see in the message, it says the directory is locked. It is monitoring file drops with file name patterns. And the name pattern it's looking for is right there. The automation that's using this folder is also listed there in this message. So it's the one called B file drop 1. And if you look at this one, you see the automation name. So they're already in use. You can't use that folder for a new file drop automation. You have to create your own folder for your own file drop automation. In other words, file drop automation does not like to share folders. So you need to have your own dedicated folder for each file drop. All right, just to avoid confusion. So just before we click on done in the bottom right corner, we can specify if we want. We can say if the file we're going to be receiving, so if we stick with the RBC example, so let's say RBC was going to be dropping a file here from their internal systems. If they tell us, okay, the file we're going to be providing you, this is going to be the naming convention for that file. It's going to be month, date, year, underscore, customer data, or whatever the naming convention they use. If you know that in advance, you can choose to use that as part of your file drop setup. All right, so you can say, okay, the file is going to contain or begins with month, date, year, underscore something. You know, this is going to be the prefix that RBC saves the file with. All right. But if you don't have that info, it's fine. You can just use no file name pattern. All right, but when you use the node file name pattern, the system will pick up whatever file gets dropped into this directory, this folder. Okay, so let's say done. All right, so you see here, file location is import/October 2023. So once we activate this automation, it will run whenever a file is dropped into this folder location in the FTP, which is this place. Okay? Any questions on any of this so far before we proceed? Okay, Robert, let's pull this thing up.
Hi, is there a limit to how many files and or file sizes that go in there, as well as is there a limited time that those files can stay in there?
File size limit, I don't think so. I need to double check, but I haven't come across a file size issue before.
Okay.
And file duration, how long can it stay in the folder? There's no limit. So let's go back to the FTP. We can take a look at some of these folders. So you see, I'm loading this folder. Let's see. There's nothing in this folder. Let's see this one. So if there's anything, no, let's check the March 8th one. It's supposed to load and show me. Okay, so let's see. Seems like there's nothing in there. Anyways, I was going to try and see if there's any files in there that we could just show you. But I don't think there's anything. So anyways, to answer your question, there's no limit of how long the file can stay inside of any of these folders, right? And then I saw the hand come up. Ogochukwu, yes.
Please, can you just do a refresh on how you pasted the host name and the password on FileZilla? Where did you pick it from and how you dropped it there?
Okay, let's log out and I'll start again. Site manager. Yeah. So let's just log out. Exit. Good. Now where is FileZilla? Okay, so I want to set up a file drop automation. In order to do that, I have to log into the FTP. And to get access to the FTP, I need to use FileZilla. So let's launch FileZilla. I think it should be in the downloads. I think I already launched it. Or I installed it. Where is it saved? You know what? No, I'm not setting it up brand new. I think I need to search here. Files. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to launch it. Put it here. So I'm just moving things around. All right, so we've got FileZilla here. In order to log into FileZilla, you need to go to Setup, and then in Setup, under the Data Management tab, you go to FTP Accounts. All right, and if you don't already have an FTP account, like one of these 8 that we see here, excuse me, you'll need to create one. So let's say we're going to create one for Electrical. We'll just put her email address. we'll put an email address here, create a password for her, put the same password. And this, by default, the username gets generated by default, right? And then we can give it full access. We go next and save. And Ogochukwu will have an FTP account created. Okay, so to log into the FTP account, you need this URL. You put that URL here in the host section. So you paste that, and then you grab your username. This is my username, so that's my email address. This is my username. I'm going to grab that, put it here, and then I'm going to also grab I'm going to enter my password. And then you put the port. It's always 22. And then you click on Quick Connect. Okay, so see here on the right side, the remote site, it's grayed out. There's no folders showing here. There's nothing showing here. All right. But when I click on Quick Connect, see here at the top, it shows we've successfully logged into this remote site. That's why we're able to see the export, import, and you can see all these folders. Okay. So that's how you log into the FTP site using your login credentials along with the host URL. Okay. All right. So we're logged in. In order to import a file using either using a scheduled or a file drop automation, you need to have a destination. So you need to have a data extension where this data that's been imported is going to get pushed to. All right, so you always have to start with the end in mind. I want to bring in data. Where do I want this data to sit? So let's go create a data extension to hold our data. All right, so for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to create a data extension based on this one so that I don't have to manually enter the field. So I'm just going to, in other words, I'm going to make a copy of this data extension. Okay, so to do that, I will create standard data extension. I'll say okay. And then here in the creation method, you guys have seen me do this more than once. I'll select create from existing. And then I'll go select the existing data extension that I want to use. So it's that one. And let's give it a new name. Let's call it the October 3rd data extension. All right. So why am I creating from existing? I'm creating from existing because I want to use all these fields from an existing data extension. I don't want to have to manually create and type all these names and select the data type. I just want to use that same structure of an existing data extension. I want to reuse it. So now that's my new data extension, and it has all the same fields as this one. Okay. So that's going to be my destination for the data I want imported via this file drop automation. So the next thing is we need actual data. We need data to be imported, right? Because we need data inside of a file that's going to get dropped in the FTP and then get imported into this data extension. Okay? So since we already have data here, I'm just going to export this. So let's see if it'll let me download it to my browser. Okay, I'm going to export this and I'll download it to my browser. And we'll use this to illustrate the file drop import process. So I'm using this data here so that I don't have to go find a new file to demonstrate this to you. And the other reason I'm using that data is because all the fields here already match with all the fields in this spreadsheet that I just exported. So here's my data, all right? We have all these fields, and all these fields, let's open this here. Okay, so all these field names or column names correspond with these column names, all right? So let's go back to our file. We're going to save this file. We're going to save it as a CSV. So let's save as CSV. Yes, CSV browse. And we'll save it to my desktop. There it is. So let's call it October 3rd sample data. All right. And save. So if we scroll to my desktop, that's the file right there at the top left corner. And it's saved as a CSV. Okay. So we can close this spreadsheet. All right, so we've got our data extension, which is our final destination. We've got our FTP access. So let's go ahead and configure the rest of our automation. So, question for all of you. Is our automation ready to be used? Yes or no? And if you say yes, why do you say yes? And if you say no, why do you say no? Any takers for my question? So just to refresh you, we've got our automation, we've got our final destination, we've got our data, and we've got our FTP access. So is our automation ready or not? Okay, no, there's no activity. All right, sure. There's no activity. What activity are we supposed to use on the canvas? Which of these activities here on the left are we supposed to use to achieve what we want to achieve? Okay, so we're getting two different answers now. File transfer and import, file transfer. All right. Will any of you be brave enough to come off mute and say why you've selected either import file or file transfer? All right, let's get you unmuted. Yes, Robert.
The first part, the file drop, is already grabbing and importing the file. So now we need to transfer that file that gets dropped into your new data extension, if I'm thinking this right.
Okay. And for the other folks who went with a different activity, does any of you want to explain why you've chosen a different answer from Rob? So Risikat say import. Who else? Okay. Since you're not forthcoming, I will explain what the right answer is, or what the right answer is and why. So the activity that we need on the canvas is indeed the import file. And why we need it is because, sure, we've used the file drop as our starting source. That's only a starting source. This only allows us to point to a location on the FTP and specify what features or what naming pattern our file is going to have. That's it. This by itself does not do the import process. The import process is accomplished using the import file activity. All right, so that's why this is the right answer. Okay, and that's why our automation is not complete yet until we have configured the import file activity. So let's go ahead and configure that now. So let's create a new import definition. Call it, so we'll stick to the same naming convention we've been using. October 3rd, to call this the October 3rd file import, or import file, whichever one. So you could put a description if you want, and you can also set up this here. You can put your email address so you get notified when this activity is complete. So let's go ahead and put my email address. And we'll go next. All right. So it brings us to the screen. And as you see here at the top, it's a guided process. That's the good thing about some things inside of Marketing Cloud. They are guided processes. And if you follow these steps, you get it right. But not everything is guided. So now we have to specify, by default, the file location is usually the exact target enhanced FTP. Okay, so that's good. And now we are able to see the subfolders under the import directory. So we're able to see these folders where these guys. So these are the subfolders. So we're able to see them here. So what we want, actually you can just select your folder location. You don't have to select the enhanced FTP, just select your folder location. So that's where our file is going to be dropped. That's where we want to point our import activity to. So we want it to be pointed at this folder. And then if there's a naming pattern for your file, you can enter it here. If not, actually you need to enter the naming pattern. So let's go grab our naming pattern. There's show more options. Okay, so I'll just grab that name and paste it here. Okay, so see what the thing says. There is no file match in this file naming pattern currently existing in that file location. Anyone know why we're getting this message here? I'll answer my own question. We're getting this message here because as of now, there is nothing inside this folder location. So that's fine. It's nothing to panic about. It's just telling you, as of this moment, I do not see any files in that folder. Exactly, thank you. So we'll keep it moving so you can leave these as is. Under the advanced, you can skip all that and go next. So you see our guided process requires you to select your starting point, which is where the file is coming from in the FTP. Select that folder. We've done that. Now we have to select our destination. Where do you want this file and the contents of the file to be imported to? This is where we select this data extension. All right, so that's what I mean when I say start with the end in mind. So make sure you've already built your data extension so that when you get to this point, you're not scrambling to go build it out. So now we've built it, we can just go select it. We know it's saved here under the shared data extensions. We know it's this one. We can see when it was created, who it was created by, and we could go next. Okay, so next step is field mapping. So first of all, you have to select your data action. Do you want this to do do you want it to do an update only, an add only, an add an update, or an overwrite? You select whichever one is most relevant to you. But most of the time, it really depends on the purpose of your import. You can select whichever one applies. And there's an explanation for each one. For now, I'll just go with add an update. There's no record in there, so it's just going to add all of them during the first import process. Next. By default, the field mapping option selected is the map by header row. So I know all of these column names are going to match with the column names in my file, right? So I don't need to do anything here because I know they're the exact same thing. So I will just proceed to next. And this is our final review window. So we can double check everything here and make changes if needed to the different sections. So you see, each section can be edited as needed. So that's the name I want, that's fine. This is the email address I want notifications sent to when this import activity is complete. That's my destination, that's where I want the data to be imported to get pushed into. And this is some additional information. And then this is my data action and my field mapping. Okay, I like what I see, and then I say finish. Oh, doesn't like something. So for update types other than override, the data extension was add at least one primary key column. Okay, that's fine. The reason it's giving us this error message is because if we come here to our data extension, we do not have a primary key column selected. In simple terms, this means if there are two records, if there are duplicate records in my file, the system will end up importing them. Whereas if there were unique identifiers for all the records in my file, and I had a primary key selected, the system will only import the unique records. So I can choose to, I have two options. I can choose to set up a primary key and go through with this and the error message will go away. Or I can choose to change my data action and say, you know what? I don't want an add an update. I want an overwrite. All right. And I shouldn't get that error message anymore. So I change my data action to overwrite and I'll say finish. And my import activity is now configured. Okay, so I'm going to save that. And now I'm able to activate my automation because I've got one activity here. It's fully configured. And you know what, let's just save one more time. And I'm going to turn it on. Okay, so now my automation is active and it's listening for the arrival of a file in this folder in the FTP. So as soon as a file arrives in this folder in the FTP, what is going to happen is this automation will run and it will sense that the file has arrived in here and it will start with step one, which is the file import process. And you'll see the log captured here. All right. Any questions before we go ahead and drop that file in the FTP and you see the automation run? Any questions on any of these steps that I just went through? And folks, it's fine to have questions. For some of you, this is new stuff. So I expect you to ask and have questions. But if you don't, that's also fine. We can move ahead with the demonstration. Okay, I'll take it there are no questions. So now, our automation is ready. This is our destination. So what we expect is once the file arrives in here and the automation runs and it runs successfully, this data extension will get populated with the number of records inside of our file. Okay, so here's our file. It's got how many records? So it's got 50,002 records in it, yes? So that's what we expect to see here. This will change from 0 to 50,002. So it'll be this number. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and drop our file. So let's access our desktop. So that's the file right there on my desktop. So I'm viewing the desktop from the FTP, from the FileZilla tool. So that's my file. I'm going to drop it in this folder and we're going to go take a look at the automation. So it's transferring, it's loading the file. And once that's done, okay, so the file arrived. You see what's happening here? So as soon as the file was done being uploaded into this folder on the FTP, the automation, this file drop starting source that was listening for the arrival of the file, sensed that the file had arrived, and now it's trying to do the import. But as we see here, I have an error message. So what's the error message about? Import failed, file not found matching pattern. Wow. Okay. All right, so why did it fail? Let's try and troubleshoot that. So let's the activity details. So what did we ask it to look up for? October. Oh, okay. Let's try that again. So what is the name of my file? It's .csv. Okay, so I think I need to correct the naming pattern. So this is how you troubleshoot your error. So you see here, we're able to view the folder and we can see that the name of the file is .csv. So file name .csv. I'm going to put that in here into the file naming pattern .csv. Right? And let's go ahead and go next. So here the destination shouldn't have changed. So you see here in the top right corner, it's still pointing to the right data extension. So nothing to change there. We'll go next, next. Okay, so let's save that. And we're going to do this one more time. We're going to drop our file again into the same folder. And let's see what happens. Same file, same folder. And it says, okay, I see the file already exists. Do you want to replace it? Or do you want to overwrite it? Or do you want to skip? I will say overwrite. All right, so now it's deleting the old file from that folder and uploading the new one, 100%. And my automation is running again. So each time a file arrives, the file drop, so that's why it's called a file drop. So each time a file drops into the folder, this hears the arrival of that file, and then your activity, whatever your step one is what runs next. So see now, this is green. Green is good. What we want is green. So let's go take a look in our data extension. What we expect to see is this change from 0 to 50,000. And voila, our import was successful. So it did change from 0 to 50,000. So folks, that is how to set up a file drop automation. Okay. Questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, observations on what you just saw? Okay. I'm sure the questions will come at some point. But folks, just to recap, what you just saw is I don't know how many steps I had in there, but the multi-step process to set up a file drop automation, all right? And just to further emphasize this, the file drop only runs whenever a file arrives in the folder that you specify in the FTP location, okay? So if the file from RBC was going to come at random times, so some days the file comes at 12 a.m., some other days it comes at 6 p.m., and some other days when the sun doesn't shine, it comes at 2 p.m. When there's randomness to the times when a file is going to be provided to you, you're better off using a file drop starting source. But if the provider of the file, let's say RBC, if RBC told you they know for sure every day at 8 a.m. a file will be placed on the FTP, then you can use the schedule starting source. You could just set it for 8 a.m. because you know you've been guaranteed the file will be there. So if your automation runs at 8 a.m. based on the schedule, it'll pick up the file. But if the provider of the file doesn't know when the file will arrive, then use the file drop. Whenever the file arrives, when you're using the file drop, it will get picked up. Whereas if you're using a schedule and you set your schedule for 8 a.m., but the file arrives at 8:30, that file will not get picked up until the next hour. All right, so those are some differences between a file drop starting source and a schedule starting source. Okay. We'll get to this, but can you create yourselves as users in the FTP account, or we need to wait for Black Force to create a user for the FTP account? Let's see. At the moment, you probably are unable to create FTP user access for yourself. So, given that we only have 10 accounts, well, actually 9, since I've taken up one, we only have 9. What I'd recommend is you reach out to the class coordinators so they can set you up with a FTP user credential. They'll just have to change one of these ones and put your email address, and they'll just need to let you know what the username is and whatever password they create for you. But given that we only have a limited number of credentials, you guys will have to, I guess, share or take turns, something like that. But this limit only applies to the FTP account. The FTP user credentials doesn't apply to your overall Marketing Cloud user credentials. Everybody has access to Marketing Cloud. It's just you only get 10 credentials for the FTP. And if you think about it, in an organization, so let's say at Lululemon, that organization, they have Marketing Cloud. Not all their users need access to the FTP. Only the users, typically in IT or data analysis, who will be doing all that data massaging, importing, and exporting, need FTP access. That's why this is limited. Okay, so your roles don't have FTP access. That is fine. That's fine. It can be added to your roles. Okay, Michael, I see. Yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself. But
yeah, good evening, Abi. Yeah, yes. So I was just responding to Ogo that obviously with the students, the SFMC student role does not have access to that menu item under data management where you are right now, which is fine.
Right.
But obviously at some point, my ask would be that we would have the ability to use it in some shape or form.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to ask that I hope that whatever is the password for all these FTP user accounts or whatever, they can be repurposed. That's basically my question, which I believe
certainly
is the case. Yeah.
Certainly.
Okay. So I'm sure at some point we'll work that out within the class, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So yes, you will be given access to that. So folks, at this point, have you been given access to the final project guidelines or the final project document? It was provided with the lecture slides, so all the slides for all the classes, along with the course outline. I provided all of that at the same time. So I don't know if you received the project and what the deliverables are. So anyways, one of the things that, now I need to go check, but I think one of the things on the project is for you to go through this exercise of setting up a file drop. But anyways, you will eventually get access to this section, so the setup section, so you can set this thing up for your final project. And while we're on the topic of your final project, folks, do not create a PowerPoint document. That is not required. I do not require you to come present a PowerPoint slide to me. In addition, I do not require you to submit anything to me. What is required is you go through everything that's asked in that final project document, and on a specified day, which will be communicated to you, you show up ready to share your screen and walk us through your assignments that you've done inside of the Marketing Cloud account. Okay? So no PowerPoint slides, nothing to be submitted. What you will be doing is presenting your screen. You'll be logged into Marketing Cloud and you'll be walking us through, this is how I did this is how I did that, this is the final outcome. All right? Just want to get that on record, just in case it hasn't been communicated yet.
Sorry, Abby, where we're
Yes.
on the topic of project, on the Slack channel for Quad 5, I was able to get the project document. And one of the things I looked at was the expectation is that we need to set up the MC connector between SFMC and SFDC. And so for me, summarily, I just feel like perhaps you and the session managers, we need to have a session to organize how we're going to run through the project because I think because of limited resources, we might need to kind of have some sort of a queued method to do things and all of that. And I think that was what happened last quarter. I wasn't there. But it can quickly become a mess. So I'm just anticipating that perhaps you would help to kind of provide some guidance alongside with the session managers so that we can have some sort of a hitch-free process while we're all doing that project, just again, for the sake of limited resources within the Salesforce architecture that we have right now.
Correct. So yes, the session managers will most likely come up with some sort of schedule because
correct.
There's only one Marketing Cloud account.
Correct.
Right? And you guys might have your individual Salesforce CRM sandboxes. So if you're being expected to do that integration, you have to take turns to do it. Everybody cannot be trying to integrate this one Marketing Cloud account with their own individual sandboxes. Everyone will have to do it within a specified window, just so you don't undo somebody's work. So yes, a schedule will definitely have to be created by the good folks at Blackforce.
Yeah, they responded, so thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, let's breeze through the slides to make sure I did not miss any vital information.
Sorry, finally, Abby, since I have your attention. So I tried doing a test send yesterday using a D that I had created. But for whatever reason, when it's completed, it keeps saying that my D doesn't have any records, which is not right. And I mean, I've done it like 3 times now. It's just giving the same outcome. So I had to stop, right? If you keep doing the same thing the same way and expect a different outcome, we know what that is, right? So I said I would ask you. So if you go into tracking and go to sends, you see it in there and you'll be able to see. So test send email. So that one. So those there.
So this one.
Yeah, so it's saying the DE attached to it has 2 records, but it seems to be kind of saying he's not picking anything. And I'm thinking, so my question again would be that I don't expect that we have to go populate the all subscribers list ourselves, right? Because it seems like he's checking the all subscribers list and those email addresses are not there, which I confirmed. Is that maybe why he's not picking them up?
Okay, let's start from the beginning.
Thank you.
Let me make a copy of this tab. So now, please direct me to your data extension.
So Quad 6, Mbuyu.
It's loading the wrong window. Okay.
Quad 6.
Okay. There you are. Now, which one?
The personal D, yeah, 2 records.
So this is, all right, this is fine so far. So you got this data extension. You tried doing email send to that data extension, but clearly the emails did not go through. All right. Where is your email message?
You will see it in the, you'll see it here once it loads up. Quad 6, Emboyo. Yeah, that one.
So this one, okay. Let's do a preview of your email message. Let's go find your data extension. So did you do a test send?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. No, it's the test send I'm still trying to do.
Oh, you haven't done the live send. You're just
I'm trying to do the test send. Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look. So that's one of two records. Okay. It's not pulling in the first name.
That's weird. Can you go to the next record? That's weird. The last time I looked at it, or maybe I was looking at something else.
So it's not pulling in the first name, but let's take a look at your email message. So
this first name thing, but must it be the same field name you have in your DM?
Yes.
Because I don't have
absolutely.
the space. Okay, so that's fair. Yeah, so that's fair. That's not correct. So I don't. Okay, I use the camel case. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There's no space here. Your message
should not
include the space. So let's correct that. And let me try and replicate what you did. So you got this file, you put in your email address. So
now it has your okay. You are doing it afresh, right? Okay. So this okay.
Yes. So let's see what happens here. Test sent successfully sent. All right, so let's go tracking sent. So
it's not here yet. No, it's not there.
So it won't be in this folder. It'll be in the test send emails folder. This one.
Okay. All right. So you see, email sent.
This is yours.
It's still 0.
So that's the one you did yesterday.
Yeah, that's the one I did yesterday.
It was 0. Okay. And this is the one I just did. It's still scheduled. Let's give it a minute. It's not the fastest of things. But these two here, once they load in the main tracking folder.
I think those were live sends. Yeah, now I recall.
Those were live sends.
Yes, they were, because since they were my email addresses, so I wasn't really bothered, right? So
okay. Let's see. So 0.
Yeah.
So where is the error message you were talking about?
No, there's no error message. Just that if you go into it, so number one, when I go into the all subscribers, those email addresses are not there. So I'm thinking, is he doing a check? Because I recall you were saying that if we are sending stuff out, he checks the all subscribers.
That is correct. So
yeah. So when I went into the all subscribers to check, those email addresses are not there. So another question for you is, how do those emails? So if you go in here and do a search, you won't find my email addresses there. So I'm like, how do those email addresses get populated into the all subscribers list?
They get populated when an email gets sent to those addresses. So they're not manually added. They're
correct. But is he not? So is he just doing an ad every time? Not that he's doing a check before he sends.
So it does a check if the email. So let's say, for example, this email address was already. An email has been sent to this email address in the past.
Yeah.
Yes. This email address will be in the all subscribers list. So if we're trying to send an email today to this email address, the system will check, does that email address exist here? If it does, is it active? If it's held or bounced or unsubscribed, it will not send the message to this email address. But if the email address...
Yeah, so ab initio, how does the email address get into the all subscriber list?
The system adds it.
So I think that's not happening here. because the system hasn't added it.
It hasn't added it because the email message didn't
go out.
through.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's why it's not been added. But if it goes through, those email addresses will show up here. We'll be able to search for them and find them. So let's do a quick search. Right now, we won't find them because no messages have been sent to them.
Correct.
Okay, so it's a bit slow, but we're going to correct that first name issue in the message, and then we're going to send this email because I'd like you to see the process from end to end. I'd like you to see it work. So, Risikat.
Hi. Yeah. Just as we're here, I created a template, but
Yes.
I didn't know how to send from that template directly because I tried sending from the creating an email from the template that I created, but it wasn't working. So I had to go back to creating a template from the email, content. So I'm not sure if you go through, the question is, if you create a template first, can you send it as an email, do an email?
No, you cannot send a template as a message. You can use a template to create a message and then send that email message. For example, and we're going to fix Boyo's issue, but see here, he has this template, this one, the type says template. We cannot send this as a message. See, there's no send option.
Yeah.
But here has this HTML email. If we come here, we do have the send option. All right. So if we wanted to create, let's say I wanted to create a new email based on this template, this is how I'll do it. So I'll say create new email message, and I want an HTML email, and actually, let's just go back. Yeah, I want to create it from an existing email. So this is, let's go back one step. Sorry, folks. Okay, I need to create a new email message. I'll select that, create option. I want it created from a template. All right, you select template, and then you go to saved templates. This is Boyo's saved template. So I want to create my email message based on this template. I'm going to select that template and go next. And I'll say this is my October 3rd email message based on Boyo's template. All right, and I go next. And see, it just pulls in the content of his template. So if I save this, I need to put a subject line. Okay, I've done that, and I'm going to save this, and we'll go back to Michael's folder. So see here, I've created this email message based on his template, and I am able to send this message because it's a template-based email, just like he is able to send this HTML email. But you cannot send a template. A template is just a shell. All right?
Okay, yeah, I see now. But I think the problem maybe is with the template that I created, because I'm not even seeing it when I clicked. I wanted to share it, send out an email, but it doesn't come up in my templates. Yeah, that
this
one.
This is your folder.
Yeah, those are the templates. So I have a template there.
This one or which one?
Yeah, the one that says templates, that one.
Okay. So see, we can't send this, but we can create an email message based on this. So let's do that. We're going to create an email message based on your template. So we select template, And by default, the basic one is selected. These are the ones that come out of the box.
Yeah.
But if you want your template that you've created and saved, you click on the Save tab, and then we can go by folders. So we'll go to your folder, and this is your only template.
Okay. So I think probably maybe I didn't save it. I'll do it again. Yeah.
Probably, because that's the only template that's showing up in your folder.
Yeah, I see.
All right, so I will save that. Yeah. And as you see here from this view, there's only one template, just this one. Everything else is something else. Okay, so let's not forget Michael's issue. Let's go back and try and fix that. And folks, thank you for creating your folders here. It keeps things organized. It makes it easy to find things. So, all right, back to your email message. Let's see what happens when we fix that space issue and try and send.
Yeah, I already fixed that, Abby. I fixed the space
issue.
Oh, you
did? Okay.
Yeah, and I did another test send. It still didn't go. It went but 0.
Really?
Yeah. And that's why I'm wondering that the disconnect from the all subscribers list seems to be a culprit. But I don't even think I manually add to the all subscriber list, right? I mean, I don't know.
So there's nothing to do in the all subscribers list. So let's try this.
Okay.
Let's try this with, you know what? Let's try. I'm going to use a different data extension. Let's get rid of, no, let's see. Let's see if I have first name in my data extension. 23.
Yeah, you do with a space though.
Oh, I do, yeah?
Yeah.
First name, okay, sure. Let's go back. We'll edit your message to include the space. And we shall try with my data extension.
No, it's in the shared data extension, I think. The one with the 4 emails. Anyway, you can use anyone anyways. So.
Yeah, anyone will work. So let's try this. Let's try Kelly. Okay, pulls that. There's no errors. And let's try sending. So now for these send classifications, did you make any selections here, or
yeah, I just left it. I left it as is. Yeah.
Okay. So let's make sure there's no issues there. The sales operations one works. All right. Send test. Send to me. Confirm. And here's my inbox. 79 messages. Nothing yet. Okay. So sometimes Marketing Cloud will give you a head scratcher like this one. And you have to try and retrace your steps and figure out what did I miss, or what is the system not liking? Because in this case, you seem to have gone through everything correctly, but your message didn't go through.
Oh.
But now...
yours went through, yeah.
Right? So if we go take a look, this should change to 80. Well, it hasn't arrived yet. It's very fresh. Okay, the message hasn't landed in my inbox, but it's saying to us that it sent the message, just hasn't arrived in my inbox yet. So it went through. Now let's go take a look at my data extension compared to yours, because that's the only difference as of now. So here's my data extension. And here is yours. So you've got your primary key is email address. And that's correct. Mine is also email address. And this is correct. So what else is different? Let's see.
I have a quick question. Could it be that he didn't put his email because it's a test, right? And he was supposed to go to
that's
email.
what I'm actually looking at. That, yeah, because I was supposed to put my, I remember the very first time I did, but I had another issue then, which I fixed. And then maybe subsequently I didn't put the email address, because when he put his now, that looked a bit strange to me.
Yes.
And yeah.
Put it where?
In
like,
the test send, where you have that maximum of 5.
Oh,
I think,
so
I think I might be missing that part, which is.
I think that was missing.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for folks who might not be following along, if I'm hearing this correctly, you're saying you got to your email message, you got here, you selected your, let's just try and
but so again, Janelle, at this point, I was selecting the data extension, right? Because you can, instead of just putting the email address. Yeah, even if you do, so yeah, go ahead. And then you do this.
Yes, here.
Yeah, so here, no, I don't think I now came here to add the email address.
You're testing it to yourself.
So it's not gonna pick
email.
from the data extension?
No. Because it's a test.
Michael,
yeah.
This field, was it blank when you hit send?
I think it was that, because that makes logical sense. I remember the very first time it wasn't, but I had an issue with the email address. So obviously it didn't go. And then I fixed that, and I think I didn't come back here to put the email. So that would make sense. So if you okay, I can do it. I can just quickly put in my email address in there, and I should.
So folks, what Michael did, he did everything correctly up until this point. At this point, well, actually, if you don't put an email address here, the send button is not going to be active. So I don't know how you got this far. And this
no, that's when you're doing the live send, not test send.
No, this is a test send.
So if you don't, so that means this is just okay. So can you do? Let me put my email address in the chat, and you just copy it and put it there, because that just explains, right? And so
yes,
that explains it, because if there's no email address in there, but like you said, how was I even able to send? So
right.
It's all messed up now. So, but
okay, so we're going to do this test send to Michael's email address, this one. Okay, and yes, that's the one.
Yeah, because the one I did the last time, I saw the 2 email addresses exactly at that spot. So anyway, I don't know. Maybe it's just...
I've been looking at that tab. It looks like you have the option to either send it to individuals or to the test data extension. So
which I think
depends on which one.
Yeah, I think mine by default gets to that, and that's why I was always choosing the data extension, and that's why you even see it in the tracking, right? It's identifying the data extension, so it has a target. Anyway, but because if it doesn't work for both, then that's not, or maybe for test sends, you only.
So
so if we go here,
let's go to your folder.
And then that one, pick it. Yeah.
So it's not letting me.
It's not. Oh, okay. But okay. So meanwhile, let me check whether.
Okay. So now it's selected.
Okay.
if we do just before we do, let's go check. The one we just sent to you, did you get it?
That's what I'm checking now.
It says 0.
Not yet. Not yet.
Well, it's not going to come true. It says 0 here.
So that means I think there's still something wrong with my data extension. Maybe
Okay, let's try this. And who is it going to? This data extension. Two recipients. So I can tell there are 2 recipients in there. It says successfully sent. Okay. So that's scheduled. Let's see if it goes through or not. I don't know, your data extension seems fine to me, but Marketing Cloud might think otherwise. It sure does. Doesn't like something because
Okay, I'll create a new one and see. I would let you know when we come back tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And always start with just the individual ones, just the individual email addresses, and you can progress to the test data extensions. But let's see it work first with individual ones. Okay. Any questions that came out of this working session? I'll be happy to answer any questions, but let's breeze through the slides to make sure we've not missed any.
I have a quick question, Abby.
Yes.
So during the file import, the first time we tried, we ran into an error and then we corrected it and everything went smoothly. I was wondering if you have automations queued like that and an error happens for a file import, is there some central place we could go check to see what the error is and troubleshoot, or is it just that screen you showed us where the error popped up?
So, yes, you see the error. You see the error on your individual automation, but you can also see the errors for all automations from this automation video overview page. So if you want to see all the errors that have happened today, so we'll say today, we'll select errors and click on update, and it will show us all the errors that have happened today. So this is the other place you can see the list of errors for different automations.
Okay, thank you.
Or you can see all completed automations. So if I say completed, this is the list of all completed. If we say scheduled, whatever you select, you just select it, click on update, and it gives you a quick report. All right?
Great, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so these are just notes on the different activities inside of Automation Studio. We talked about them yesterday. Let's see if I missed anything. So this is just some guidance on how to set up a file import. This is how to access the FTP. This is just a screenshot of using FileZilla to access the FTP. And this is just some information on queries, SSJS. And just some additional explanation on the difference between a scheduled automation and a file drop, and when these can be used, or some examples of use case scenarios for each one. Let's see, is there anything vital that I have missed? Okay, one quick thing that I can show to you inside of an automation. So if we go back to my automation, this one. So we set it up and we can see the log of how many times it's successfully run and how many times it's failed. In addition, you can put, to get notified each time there's an error or each time it runs successfully, you could put your email address here. So if you put your email address here, you save it. Every time this automation runs, if there's an error, it will notify you because you've put your email address here. And you could put, I think you could put multiple email addresses. So you could put multiple email addresses to get notified for errors and for completions. This is useful, especially in organizations that have lots of automations. Okay, so it's a good feature to have. And then another good practice when you build automations is to put a description. So imagine your organization uses Marketing Cloud and you have, let's say, 100 automations. And you're brought in, someone says, oh, there's an issue on one of these automations. I don't know, there's an error message. It just doesn't work. You come into the account, you see these dozens of automations listed here, and you go into some of them and you see all these activities. There's probably like 20 activities on the canvas, and there's no context for what this automation is created for, what they're trying to accomplish with it. You just see this bunch of activities. So it's good practice to always put a description so that a new person to the account or your team has some context on what this automation is about, what problem it's trying to solve, just some sort of summary, all right? So that's something I share with my clients. It's always just good to put a bit of a description. And the description field is available in the different parts of Marketing Cloud. So when you're creating an email message, in your data extensions, you can also put description, just so people know what exactly that entity is created for or used for, okay? And then you also have this history of who saved it most recently. So if, let's say, an automation breaks or has an error message, part of your troubleshooting process is to see, did someone go mess with my automation? If they did, it'll show their fingerprints here. It'll put their name and the last time it was saved, right? So at least you can start from there into your investigation of what changed inside of this automation, okay? And then still on the topic of troubleshooting. So let's say you saved an automation, it ran, and there was an error and you got notified by this notification settings. The notification email will look something like this. It'll look something like this. This is a notification I received when my file was successfully imported with those 50,000 records. The error message notification will be something like this. Your automation showed an error on this date at this time. This is the name of the automation. This is the data extension we're trying to pull info into. This is the business unit ID. So MID is business unit ID. So 6425 is this business unit, 6425 right here. So this is useful, especially when you're dealing with large accounts where they have 10, 12 business units. When you get these notifications, at least that helps you determine, okay, the issue is in this business unit and the data extension is somewhere here. All right. So you get the notification, you come into the account and you see the error message. So sometimes the error message might have enough details for you to figure out what the issue is. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes the error message is just plain useless. It doesn't tell you what went wrong, why something went wrong, and what you can do about it. So you just have to figure it out. Or you might just need to Google whatever that error message is and see what people are saying online about that specific error message. This is typical. So those unhelpful error messages are typical with SQL queries. So if you run a query, or if your automation runs a query and something was missing or it doesn't like something in your SQL query, you'll get these cryptic error messages that don't tell you much. So just be prepared for that. So let's go take a look at some people's automations. For example, this one. This is somebody's automation that ran yesterday, and there was an error message. So let's go into it. So this is the owner of this automation. That's when last they saved it. And let's take a look. So the error message is on, well, there's only one activity. So the error message is on this activity, this SQL query. And the error message says there's a violation of primary key constraint. It cannot insert a duplicate key. For a new person to Marketing Cloud, you know what? Let me not presume. I'm going to rephrase that. For you new folks, can you determine what this error message means? Can any one of you? Now, this is excluding the more experienced folks. So for any of you new folks, can you tell what that error message means? Let me show it to you again. So, violation of primary key constraint, cannot insert duplicate key. Do you know what the system is referring to? Do you know what the issue here is? Any guesses? And I'll come back to Beatrice's question. But okay, just for the sake of time, this error message here is referring to the data extension that this query is supposed to push data into. So it's saying there is no primary key field selected in that data extension. Oh, actually, no, that's not what it's saying. It's saying it found some duplicate records and it cannot insert duplicate records into that data extension. That's what it's saying. So what the person needs to do is fix their query such that it excludes or it looks for unique records to avoid this sort of error message. Okay? Some of these things come over time with experience. You start to figure out what these errors mean and what the solution is. All right, so to Beatrice's question, when do we use the file transfer activity? So if we use my example, let's say the file that I imported from here today, let's say it was an encrypted file, or it was in a zip, it was a zipped file rather than just a CSV. In order for my import to be successful, I'll need to use the file transfer activity to decrypt that file or unzip it, and then we'll move to step 2 where the import happens. So my step 1 will be a file transfer to unzip that file or decrypt the file if it was encrypted. And then my step 2 will be the import. But because the file that I imported, the spreadsheet, it wasn't encrypted, it wasn't zipped, it was an open file, right? So I didn't need to use the file transfer activity. I just used the import file because my file was ready. It wasn't encrypted or zipped. Cool? So that's when you use the file transfer. Excellent. Any other questions? Let's see. I think everything is in here. Yes, Ogo.
If you want to make an SQL query activity and you want to try to export like performance data from a journey that you have sent out already, and you want to reference a particular date, like a send date for an email, I have just one ask from you. You know that dates add that you usually put to reference like a specific date? If you can throw more light on the logic, when it comes to, let's say you send the email on Saturday and today is Tuesday, would you now put dates add in brackets day, comma, -3 or just 3? For those who know SQL, just tell me. So what I'm saying is I want to reference a particular send date for an email now.
Yeah.
And that date add logic. That's my confusion there.
Okay. There's a okay, this here has date functions. This is a resource that I go to all the time because I also sometimes get it mixed up when to use what in terms of the date add or get date, the date path. But this guy is a great guy. He's got this website that guides you on how to create or use the date functions inside of SQL, inside of Marketing Cloud. So I'm going to put the link in the chat, and I suggest you save it as a favorite link and refer to it, because I still do. But the answer to your question is, to get the date for 3 days ago, it's going to be -3. All right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be -3. So because it's today -3. If I think, yeah, today is Tuesday. So 3 days ago is Saturday. Or is it Sunday? Anyway, you have to use the minus if you're trying to get dates in the past. All right?
Okay.
Okay.
My last question.
Yes.
Okay. So you know that when you're referencing job IDs for journeys versus email, it's quite different. I observed that in journeys, you don't really have like job IDs. So are you saying the version is what you put in your SQL query?
You put the... So if you go to tracking sends, now this is beyond the scope here, but here is where you find the job ID for a journey. So let's say this journey, what you put, actually, what you need is the triggered send number, because sometimes this won't work. So what you need, data views. So what you need is here. you need to look at the journey data views. So there's one here for journeys. Yeah. So what you need is it's either here or anyways, you need to check in the data views. That's where you're going to find what you need to put into your SQL query. But I think it's the triggered send key. I think that's the one. But I'm not sure what data view it sits in, if it's in the send or the journeys, it's somewhere here. All right, folks, thanks for your patience. We will leave it there and pick it up tomorrow.